On March 11, 2026, day 12 of the conflict, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps executed what it publicly described as the most intense operation since this war began. AFP, citing official statements and on-the-ground reporting, described the March 11th attack as the most intense and heaviest Iranian missile operation since the war started on February 28th. The IRGC launched Khorramshahr-4 ballistic missiles at Tel Aviv and Haifa simultaneously. For over 3 hours, Arrow 3, David Sling, and Iron Dome all fired at the same time. Both cities were under incoming fire in the same operational window from the same integrated strike package. The Times of Israel confirmed sirens sounded across Tel Aviv, central Israel, in the Jerusalem area simultaneously. Emergency forces reported a home in Moshe Hanil, central Israel, was directly struck and largely destroyed. On the northern front, Hezbollah launched approximately 200 rockets from Lebanon into Israel during the same window, according to Times of Israel reporting. 2 directions, 2 weapon systems, 1 operational window designed to split Israel's air defense response between a long-range ballistic threat from Iran and a simultaneous northern front from Lebanon. Arrow and David Sling had to cover both theaters at the same time. That is what March 11th looked like from inside Israel's Air Defense Command. What the Khorramshahr-4's appearance at this specific moment in the conflict reveals requires understanding the arc of the preceding 12 days, not just the individual events of March 11th. The war began on February 28th when the United States and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury, coordinated strikes across Iran, targeting missile facilities, air defense systems, and Revolutionary Guard Command infrastructure. The scope was nationwide, not a surgical strike on a single nuclear site, but a full-spectrum degradation campaign across the entire country in a single operational window. Iran responded within hours, naming its operation True Promise for the 4th in a named sequence, each one escalating beyond the version before it. In the opening days, Israeli broadcaster Can 11 tracked incoming missile counts with documented precision. Day 1, approximately 90 missiles. Day 2, approximately 65. Day 3, approximately 25. Day 4, approximately 20. The declining curve was read by most Western analysts as evidence of depletion, Iran burning through its inventory under sustained U.S. and Israeli counterstrikes. The Jewish Institute for National Security Affairs Analysis confirmed that by day 10, Iran's missile attack rate was down approximately 90% from day 1. U.S. and Israeli strikes had reportedly eliminated up to 3/4 of Iran's mobile missile launches. NDTV reported that after 1 week of fighting, Iran had approximately 1,000 ballistic missiles remaining, down from an estimated 2,000 entering the conflict. That is the confirmed context against which the March 11th Khorramshahr-4 operation happened. Fewer launchers, a shrinking stockpile, a 90% reduction in launch rate, and then the heaviest single operation of the entire war. Analysts observing the pattern have suggested that the declining launch curve may not have been pure depletion, but also deliberate rationing, preserving the heaviest systems for a later phase. That interpretation cannot be confirmed inside Iran's command decisions, but the operational outcome is documented. The Khorramshahr-4 appeared on day 12, not day 1. The Khorramshahr-4 is the heaviest ballistic missile in Iran's confirmed active inventory. The missile stands 13 meters tall, weighs approximately 30 tons at launch, and carries a 1,500 kilogram warhead, the largest conventional payload in Iran's deployed ballistic missile arsenal, according to open-source defense assessments, including CSI's analysis. Its propulsion uses hypergolic liquid fuel, a propellant that ignites automatically when its components make contact, eliminating the extended fueling and stinning pressurization sequence that older liquid-fueled systems require before launch. Daily, older liquid-fueled Iranian ballistic missiles require hours of visible preparation that satellite surveillance can detect and track. The Khorramshahr-4 can move from a launch decision to an airborne missile in approximately 12 minutes. That 12-minute window is shorter than the satellite revisit cycle for many commercial reconnaissance platforms watching Iranian launch sites. The missile also carries a maneuvering re-entry vehicle, a warhead that adjusts its trajectory during terminal descent. At the precise moment, Arrow and David's Sling interceptors are committing to their final engagement geometry calculations. The course correction does not need to be dramatic. At Mach 8, inside the atmosphere, even a modest trajectory shift moves the incoming warhead outside the kill envelope the interceptor has already committed to. If Arrow 3 misses or does not engage, Arrow 2 and David's Sling engage inside the atmosphere where the warhead is already maneuvering at Mach 8, wrapped in re-entry plasma with a reduced radar cross-section. The Institute for the Study of War published data showing Khorramshahr variants dropped Arrow 3's hit-to kill probability from approximately 89% at mid-course intercept to roughly 65 to 70% at lower altitude terminal engagements during 2024 exercises. That drop from 89% to 65 to 70% is the number most coverage has not explained clearly. Over a metropolitan area of 4 million people, multiple warheads reaching the ground is not a failure scenario for the defense. It is a statistical outcome that becomes more likely as engagement geometry degrades. The IDF confirmed on March 11th that projectiles reached their targets. Damage was reported across central and northern Israel. Emergency services responded to multiple sites simultaneously through the night. And into March 12th, Israel's defenses intercepted the majority of incoming missiles. That is confirmed. While majority carries significant weight when the incoming weapons are 30-ton ballistic missiles over 2 simultaneous cities. The interceptor economics of the Khorramshahr-4 are documented in the public record. An Arrow 3 interceptor costs approximately $2.5 million per missile, according to Israeli defense sources cited by Calculist. Every Khorramshahr-4 forces Israel to fire at least one Arrow 3, and sometimes 2, to maintain a statistically acceptable intercept probability. Each Arrow 3 expended comes from a stockpile that cannot be replenished on a wartime timeline. Israeli defense sources told Calculist that the IDF is managing risk around interceptor usage, calculating which threats to allow past upper-tier systems into lower-tier defenses, rather than expending top-tier interceptors against every incoming target. Israel placed a multi-billion shekel emergency order with Israel Aerospace Industries for additional Arrow 3 units, according to the war zone, because wartime consumption rates exceeded pre-conflict planning assumptions. Arrow 4, engineered specifically to counter-maneuvering re-entry vehicles of the type the Khorramshahr-4 carries, was not yet confirmed operational when the conflict began on February 28. IAI CEO Boaz Levy stated on February 17, 2022, that Arrow 4 could enter service within months. Arrow 4's operational status as of March 12, 2026, has not been confirmed in public IDF statements. On March 6, the war zone confirmed drone strikes hit the Misha facility, the specific base hosting Arrow missile defense systems. The war zone explicitly stated that losing key radars, even temporarily, risked degrading interception rates for following Iranian missile attacks. The 12-day operational sequence: degrade the radar network, deplete interceptor inventory, then deploy the heaviest available weapons, is visible in the confirmed record of events between February 28th and March 11th. Iran named its targets on March 11th in a formal statement broadcast on state television. The confirmed target list included 4 specific facilities: Aman, Israel's Military Intelligence Directorate; Unit 8200, the IDF's Elite Signals Intelligence and Cyber Division; the Green Pine Radar, and the Submarine Headquarters building at Haifa Naval Base. Each target addresses a different layer of Israel's military architecture. Start with Unit 8200 IDF. Sources confirmed that Unit 8200 provided targeting data used to locate Ayatollah Khomeini's underground bunker on February 28, the first day of this war. Unit 8200 is the analytical core of Israel's strike planning apparatus during active operations: signals, intercepts, communications, surveillance, AI-assisted targeting. Targeting it is not symbolic messaging. It is an attempt to degrade the intelligence infrastructure that feeds Israel's ability to plan and execute offensive strikes against Iran's most protected, hardened facilities, while those operations are actively running. The Green Pine is the primary fire control radar linked to Israel's Arrow missile defense systems, the same systems that were intercepting Khorramshahr-4 missiles over Tel Aviv on March 11th. The war zone confirmed this connection on March 7th, targeting the radar that controls the interceptors on the same day as the heaviest missile strike of the conflict. It's a sequenced operation, not two unrelated events that happened to coincide. The Haifa Naval Base target was specified as the submarine headquarters building, not port infrastructure, not fuel storage, not surface vessel berths. That precision is an intelligence signal independent of the strike's physical outcome. Israel's Dolphin-class submarines are linked to its nuclear second strike deterrence posture, the capability that ensures retaliation against any existential attack on Israel, regardless of what happens to surface infrastructure. Naming the submarine command building signals that Iran has identified and is willing to strike that infrastructure in the confirmed strategic context of a conflict where Iran has publicly stated it views the confrontation as existential. That single target selection carries significance beyond its physical dimensions. A senior Iranian military spokesman stated on March 11th that Iran had moved from reciprocal strikes to continuous strikes until the enemy is fully punished. That is a doctrine declaration. It states a shift from reaction to sustained campaign, not a different target, but a different operational posture. Defense Secretary Hexeth announced on March 11th that it was the most intense day of U.S. strikes on Iran since the war began. Pentagon confirmed that over 5,000 Iranian targets had been struck since February 28th. Pentagon figures, cited by Democracy, now confirmed 140 U.S. service members injured and 7 killed as of March 11th. The White House has publicly stated a 4 to 6 week timeline for Operation Epic Fury's stated objectives. Week 2 of that timeline ends around March 14th. Iran's March 11th target list: military intelligence, radar, submarine command addresses infrastructure that extends U.S. and Israeli offensive capacity beyond the initial operational window. Degrading intelligence slows targeting. Degrading radar degrades missile defense. Striking submarine command signals willingness to escalate to deterrence infrastructure. Each of those effects, if achieved, extends the conflict beyond the timeline Washington has stated publicly. On March 12th, the IRGC spokesman delivered a statement that reached every trading desk in London, Singapore, and New York simultaneously. Not 1 liter of oil will pass through the Strait of Hormuz, the statement said. Expect oil at $200 per barrel. On March 12th, U.S. benchmark crude jumped approximately 9% to around $95 per barrel, per NBC News reporting. That number is not a projection. It is the confirmed closing figure for the day of that statement. The economic architecture underneath that figure requires one number to understand. Approximately 20% of all global oil consumption transits the Strait of Hormuz every single day, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. As of March 12th, approximately 150 ships are stranded at the strait's entry and exit points, per Al Jazeera reporting. Only Iranian and Chinese flagged vessels are continuing to move through the waterway. Western commercial traffic has stopped, not because of a formal military blockade, but because insurance markets withdrew coverage. When Lloyd's of London pulls P&I coverage, tanker captains do not transit, regardless of what naval escorts are available. No coverage means no transit. Economics stopped the ships. Claudia Galimberti, chief economist at Rystad Energy, told NPR the situation is unlike anything seen in the Strait's modern history, comparing the effective closure to blocking the aorta of the global circulatory system. The price trajectory from the public record is specific. Brent crude was trading near $70 before the war began. By March 2nd, it had reached $80 to $82. By March 9th, it crossed $130 per barrel per CNBC. By March 12th, U.S. crude touched $95 on fresh tanker attack news. A 35% move in 12 days. Bank of America's Francisco Blanche stated a prolonged Strait disruption could push Brent $40 to $80 above pre-war levels. J.P. Morgan's Natasha Kaneva said a war exceeding 3 weeks could push Brent to $120 per barrel. Deutsche Bank's Michael Shuey stated that a fully enforced closure using mines and anti-ship missiles could drive Brent toward $200 per barrel. The exact figure the IRGC spokesman cited publicly on March 12th. The IMF's published methodology puts every 10% rise in oil prices at approximately 0.4%. Additional global inflation and a 0.15% reduction in global economic growth. The disruption extends beyond crude oil. Qatar Energy halted LNG production at Ras Laffan and Masad after drone strikes hit facilities. Qatar supplies approximately 22% of globally traded LNG. European natural gas futures surged over 40% in a single trading session following that halt. U.S. gasoline was approaching $3.20 per gallon by early March, moving toward $4, the highest level since late 2023. U.S. inflation came in at 2.4% in February 2026, already above the Federal Reserve's 2% target before any energy shock hit. The Federal Reserve now faces a supply-driven inflation shock with rate cuts already delayed. The Trump administration entered this conflict having publicly committed to lowering energy costs for American consumers as a governing platform. Brent at $95, gasoline approaching $4, and the Federal Reserve unable to cut rates are not compatible with that commitment on any political timeline. The IRGC spokesman on March 12th did not threaten a military escalation. He threatened an economic one. $200 oil does not require Iran to win a military engagement. It only requires the strait to remain effectively closed long enough for the economic cost to become politically unmanageable in Washington. The confirmed picture on March 12, 2026, Day 12. Iran has fired over 500 ballistic missiles and launched over 2,000 drones since February 28. Its missile launch rate is down approximately 90% from Day 1 per GINSA analysis. But its heaviest systems, the Khorramshahr-4, appeared in combat on Day 12, not Day 1. Israel's defenses have maintained approximately 90% interception across the conflict, per IDF public statements. Arrow 3 inventory is finite. Arrow 4 is not yet confirmed operational. And the Green Pine radar network is confirmed to have been targeted on multiple occasions during the conflict. The Pentagon has confirmed strikes on over 5,000 Iranian targets since February 28. 7 U.S. service members killed and 140 injured. The Strait of Hormuz is effectively closed on Day 12, with oil at $95, gasoline approaching $4, and a Federal Reserve that has no clean policy option available. The conflict is now in week 2. The White House stated a 4 to 6 week timeline. Iran's IRGC has publicly stated its fighting capacity extends a minimum of 6 months. None of the 4 variables that will determine this conflict's trajectory: Iran's remaining missile inventory, Israel's interceptor margins, Washington's economic tolerance, and the Strait closure timeline, has reached a breaking point. All 4 are under simultaneous pressure. The March 11th operation did not change the military outcome of this conflict. What it confirmed is that Iran's remaining capacity includes systems capable of producing the most damaging single operation of the entire war on Day 12, not Day 1 of a conflict where its launch rate is officially down 90%. That is the data point that matters most going into week 3.